How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to another video on the channel. This time we have my Runick deck profile straight out of Tactical Masters. Before we jump right in, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And I gotta say, this deck is so much fun. I haven't had this much fun, I think, since playing Strikers at its prime, I suppose. But this is such an oppressive and fun deck that just mills out your opponent, banishes their entire deck, gets rid of all their engine cards, and I've been having a lot of fun testing this for like the past 2 weeks now, I think. So let's jump right into the profile. So this deck is really unique because it utilizes quick play spell cards straight out of your hand, also during your opponent's turns. So jumping right in, we have the 3 Runick Fountain. This is the field spell of the Runick archetype, which basically says that you can play quick play spell cards straight out of your hand during your opponent's turn. And also, when you activate a Runick quick play spell card, you can shuffle up to 3 Runick quick plays from your graveyard to your deck, put them on the bottom, and then draw 3 cards. So essentially, you don't need any draw spells in this deck. You just draw 3 every single turn, also during your opponent's turn. So this is a must-have at 3. We have 3 Runick Tip. So Runick Tip is essentially the searcher of this deck. They all have very similar effects. You skip your next battle phase, and then you choose one of 2. The first one is going to be some sort of an effect that also banishes cards from the top of your opponent's deck. The second one is going to be special summoning a Runick monster from your extra deck. So this one searches a Runick card from your deck and then banishes the top 1 card of your opponent's deck. So this is essential. You always want to see that going second or first. We have the Runick Destruction, which is the spell and trap removal, banishes 4 cards of your opponent's deck. We have the Flashing Fire, which is a special summon monster pop, banishes 2 cards of your opponent's deck. We have the Freezing Curses, which is a negate, basically like Imperm, also banishes 3 cards from your opponent's deck. We have the Slumber, which protects a monster from being destroyed by battle or card effect once per turn. Also, that monster can't attack, so it's a defensive and an offensive spell. Basically, you can target one opponent monster and then it can't attack this turn. It also banishes 3 cards off your opponent's deck. We have the Smiting Storm, which I really like. It banishes a card for each card your opponent controls from the top of their deck. So if they are committing to a huge board or the like mid combo, you just slap this and they have to banish like 7 cards off the top of the deck, which is amazing. You obviously want to play all of these at 3 because you always want to see them, so the field spell will be live so you can draw more. And the last 2, we have the Golden Droplet, which draws a card to your opponent and then banishes the top 4, and the Dispelling, which when they add a card to the hand, you randomly discard 1 card, which is kind of bad against tiers, but it also banishes the top 2 of their deck. So essentially these 2 are a combo, right? If you're trying to get the 3 spells in the graveyard to activate the field spell to draw 3, you essentially activate Golden Droplet, they draw a card, then you activate Dispelling, that pops a card out of their hand and also banishes. So this is together, it gets rid of 7 cards from their deck, also banishing 6 of them. So these are the Runick spells. Now we have 2 more 3-ofs. We have Book of Eclipse and we have Triple Tactics Talent. So these are basically flex spots. I've been testing Strikers with this. I've been testing a lot of other things, but I think these are really good. Book of Eclipse just turns all of the monsters on the field to face down defense position, and then during the end phase, it flips up your opponent's monster, and then they draw a card for each monster flipped by this effect. So if they're starting their combo or the like mid combo, and you want to flip all their monsters to face down so they can't use them for Lake Summoning, Synchro Summoning, Xyz Summoning, they just draw cards out of their deck closer to getting milled. Mid-game, this doesn't really matter that much because you're already banishing a lot of their engine cards already. And Talents is just really good going first or going second, honestly. And I think the real spice in this deck that really works here, you've noticed there's no Mystic Mine here, right? But we do have Mystic Mine on legs. This is Majesty's Fiend. It's a tribute summon monster. You have to tribute 1 monster to summon it, and it says that neither player can activate monster effect. So essentially, very similar to Mystic Mine. The reason why it's so good, and I'll show this later in the video, that you can just summon with any quick play spell. You can summon a fusion monster, then tribute it off for this to continue your combo and actually defend your cards from being hand trapped with things like Ash and Bell that really hurt this deck. And then if your opponent doesn't have an out to it, right? Everybody's playing Mystic Mine outs, but it's really hard to get rid of this on the board. And the one-offs, we have the Upstart Goblin, which is just broken in this deck. You just draw one, you don't care about life points at all. 1 Day of Peace is actually super crucial because you get a card out of your opponent's deck and you survive another turn, which is really important in this deck. And then we have the Called By and the Terraforming to search the field spell. So this was the main deck, and now for the extra deck we have 3 Hugin. Hugin searches for the field spell, and you have to discard 1 card, but also it banishes itself instead of having cards on your field being destroyed. So if your opponent activates something like Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, something like that, targeting your back row, you just, if this is on the field, you just banish it, and if it's not on the field, you actually activate any Runick quick play spell card as chain 2. This summons Hugin, and then when the chain resolves, you just banish it instead. So this doesn't even have to be on your field to activate this effect, and also none of these effects are once per turn. We have Gary, the Runick Fangs. So Gary cannot be destroyed by card effects, and when it's sent to the graveyard by battle, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. So this is a really good access code out, so it can't pop it with the card effect, and if they want to attack it, their access code is gone for the next turn. And Gary also grabs you a non-quick play Runick card from your graveyard, so if you want to recycle your field spell from the graveyard, Gary gets it. And then we have Moonin, the Runick Wings. Moonin searches for the continuous spell card, which we don't play in the main deck. I'll show it a bit later in the side deck portion. She can also target cards you control if they are targeted. So if a card is targeted, you can just banish this as a quick effect and negate and destroy that effect. And also during the end phase, you just gain 1000 life points. So this is insane in time. It also has a big booty, 2000 defense. So we run that at 2. So these are the Runick fusions. And for the rest of the extra deck, we just have a lot of generic targets, mainly for super polymerization. So we have the Starving Venom, we have the Mud Dragon, we have the Garura, we have the Predapent Dragostapelia, and we have the big Triff, which actually comes up a lot when you're playing Super Poly, especially when you're playing against tier limits. So when they start committing, right before they get too curious, right, they are trying to bring out 3 dark monsters with different types. You just Super Poly their field, get this. This negates special summons from the extra deck once per turn. And this is just insane. It's really hard to get rid of. And then for extra utility, we have the Nightmare Cerberus and the Nightmare Phoenix to get rid of stuff like Anti-Spell, which could really hurt this deck. And for the side deck, it's going to be pretty much up to you, I think. But this is what I found really helps me win games. So you need a lot of spell and trap removal because Anti-Spell is actually a card. You do have 3 of them in the main deck, and you also have 3 Garys, which when they go to the graveyard, you can target 1 card and destroy it. But you just have to play a lot of other outs, right, to get rid of the Anti-Spell. So you play 2 Cyclone, 2 Mystical Space Typhoon. I play 1 Reboot, especially for things like Eradicator Virus, which could really kill the deck. And then you have Harpy's Feather Dusters, which is also really good. We have 2 Super Poly, we have 2 Lava Golem, we have 2 Nibiru's, and then we have 2 Sphere Mode. I think these are like really good ratios going second. You'll have maybe 1 of these or 2 of these, which will actually most of the time be enough. And then for the last card, we have the Runick Allure. So Runick Allure is the continuous spell card for the Runicks. And what it basically says is that each time a quick play spell card activates, and this is mandatory, you banish the top card of your opponent's deck. So this is really good against things like Branded, Super Poly, Cosmic Cyclone. They all trigger this effect. All your cards banish 1 additional card, and this is really insane in the mirror match. If you ever encounter another Runick player, so this, if you get this first on the field, you just banish their entire deck because every one of their cards also banishes their top card. So yeah, just to show you a basic hand in which, especially when you open Majesty's Fiend, it's really broken. So for example, you have 1 card here that could be dead or whatever, right? We're going to use this off the top, obviously. But the first thing you want to do is just activate the tip, right? We search for the field spell here, and this will facilitate your entire combo and let you draw a ton of other cards. So we're going to activate that. We already have one spell in the graveyard. Then we're going to activate the Dispelling, right? Just to get the monster on the field. So we can tribute summon. You get any monster. Usually I get the Hugin because why not? And then we will activate the effect to search for another field spell. So we get another one of these, and we can also chain block the field spell. So we search for another copy of the Runick Fountain, and then when the chain resolves, you can actually chain block either one of these that you want. So you can go Chainlink Runick Fountain, target all three of these to draw an additional 3 cards, Chainlink 2 Hugin to search for the field spell because they happen at the same time. So here you just draw an additional 3 cards, and then when this resolves, you basically just tribute summon, put on your Mystic Mine on the field, and you have still 5 cards in your hand to continue your combo and play on your opponent's turn. So this is my Runick deck profile. Let me know down in the comment what you thought about this deck. What do you thought about Majesty's Fiend in this format? I'm really hoping mine gets banned, and I think this is gonna happen really soon, so I'm not really relying on Mystic Mine in this deck, even though it works really well. And I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, make sure you leave a thumbs up on the video, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.